Hey everybody, let me show you how I made the third set of dowel gears. As usual, I started by opening up LibreCAD. Here's a picture of the home screen if you want to check them out. So here's a series of screenshots that show the different versions of the design for the new gear. Basically, it's very similar to the older one. The only real changes are that I wanted to create some more space between the teeth of the gears. The teeth, of course, are made with oak dowels. After I finished the design, I printed out a couple of copies, roughly cut them out, used purple glue stick to glue it down on a sanded piece of particle board that I was going to make the gears out of. Next, it was over to the bandsaw just to cut the gears apart and cut away some of the extra material. Next, I used a sharp awl to just make a little divot in the particle board, marking the center of each of the holes I needed to drill. Next, it was over to the drill press to drill the holes for the bearing for each of the two gears. Being very careful here to try and line up the center part of the Forstner bit with the little divot I just made using the awl, trying to be as accurate as possible. Then I started drilling the holes that would eventually receive the dowels. Again, I'm trying to be as accurate as possible and try and line up the center part of the Forstner bit with the little divot in the particle board. As you can see, I'm doing it all by eye. I found that it was useful to sand off my backing board and also the back of the gear after I drilled each hole, just to remove any tear out. Here I'm just using a piece of 80 grit sandpaper glued onto a piece of MDF. Here's what the gears look like with the holes drilled, front and back. Then it was back over to the bandsaw to do some more cutting. Here's what the gears look like to this point. So back over to the bandsaw to cut the wooden dowel, oak dowel, that's going to be used as the teeth for these gears. So each gear has 8 dowel teeth, so there's the first 8 pieces. There's the 8 pieces for both gears. When I glue these dowel pieces in place, I'm going to use rubber bands to hold them while the glue dries. For glue, I'm using the original Titebond wood glue. I'm also going to use a glue brush made from silicone. You can get it at Rockler. It's very handy. I recommend it. Alright, so here I'm just going to use a file to just kind of take off any of the little burrs or anything that are left over after drilling and cutting. Now it's time to glue on those dowel pieces. Just using the silicone brush to get a nice bit of glue on the dowel and also in the crevice of the gear. And once I put the dowel in there, I'll use a rubber band to hold it in place while the glue dries. Here's a shot with all the dowel pieces in place. Here I'm just using my belt sander to sand down the end of the dowel pieces so that they're nice and flush with the face of the gear. Here's what it looks like after I got finished sanding one of the gears. After I was done with the belt sander, I just decided to do a little bit more manual sanding just to smooth it out just a little bit more. Then it was back over to the bandsaw to cut out the material between the dowel teeth. Well, now it's time to press in the bearings and to see how the gears mesh. Here I'm showing the gears actually meshing. This third set of dowel gears does have significantly more space between the dowel teeth, so they mesh much smoother and there's no binds. Here's a real close-up shot of the gears meshing. Here it's pretty easy to see the space between the dowel teeth. In the next version of these gears, the next time I make them, I'm going to reduce the amount of space between the dowel teeth. I will probably also wind up making at least one jig to try and help me fabricate these gears a little bit more accurately. Overall, I'm very happy with the way these two gears came out. I think they're definitely the best set that I've made so far. Here's another shot of the gears meshing, only quite a bit faster this time. Couldn't really feel any binds. Definitely getting better at making these. Here's one last shot, real close up, showing the two gears meshing. You can see the space between the dowel teeth. These are definitely the best gears I've made so far. Thanks for watching.